What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So over the past few days I've made two cannabis penny stock videos in the form of Sundial Growers and High Tide. So today I thought we'd look at one of the more well-known established cannabis stocks in the form of Aurora Cannabis. So for Aurora Cannabis, ticker symbol ACB, we look at the following three factors. We'll have a brief overview of what the company actually does and take a bit of a look into what products they currently offer. We will then look at some interesting news articles which will act as catalysts going forward. And finally, we'll have a look at their current share price to see are they over or undervalued at current prices. Again, briefly, it goes without saying that I am not a financial advisor by any stretch of imagination, so you need to do your own due diligence before you invest any of your hard-earned money. And second of all, if you're new around here, as always, it'd be much appreciated if you consider subscribing to the channel, as we're now only 15 subs away from our next goal of 900. And with all that being said, let's dive right into today's video. Firstly, if you're not sure who Aurora Cannabis actually are, they are a company that engages in the production, distribution and sale of cannabis products. It also produces and sells indoor cultivation systems and hemp-related food products. It was founded in 2006 in Canada. Aurora Cannabis are split into kind of two sub-brands. Firstly, they have their medical brands and they have 4 subsectors of this. And they also have the consumer brands and they have 6 subsectors within this brand. Looking for any companies to invest in, you always need to look for the unique selling point or the competitive advantage. And Aurora Cannabis seem to have 6 main factors, and they are as follows. They have a low cost cultivation, scale and global reach, which again is a huge factor, Canadian market leader. They have patient advocacy, which is another major factor, innovative product development and IP plant science. We can see on screen now Aurora Cannabis currently has 4 production facilities in operation. They have Aurora Sky, which has a capacity of 25,000 kgs a year. They then have Aurora River, which has a capacity of 28,000 and has EU GBP certified. They then have the likes of Aurora Nordic, which has a capacity of 10,000 kgs a year and is pending EU GMP certification. And finally, their Whistler Pemberton has a capacity of under 4,500 kg a year. As I was saying earlier, Aurora Cannabis has kind of 2 main sub-brands. They have the medical and consumer brands. And we can also see how diverse their portfolio actually is when they have the daily specials, which they have the value. Their core is the Aurora Drift or Aurora. Premium is San Rafael. And their premium organic is Whistler Cannabis. And within each of those sub-brands, they have the following products. We can see on screen the vast array of different and diverse product offerings for cannabis. We have everything from flowers and vapes to chocolates and soft jellies, the pre-rolls. We also have oral mist, everything else, the resin, vapes, gummies, hash, etc. So there really is a lot of different products for every kind of consumer. Now that we have the kind of brief overview of what the company actually does, now let's kind of look at more of the fundamentals and catalysts and also their prices. So firstly, what you should always look for when investing in any company is their current top shareholders. And we can see on screen that ETF managers currently have 2.3%, followed by Vanguard Group and Morgan Stanley in 3rd place. Time of recording, Aurora Cannabis was currently trading at about $12.21 per share. As we can see on screen, in the 3-month graph, they're nearly double their value. This time 3 months ago, they were sitting at about $7 a share. And again, at the moment, they're over $12. We can see they also had a spike up here of $18.90. But since then, on the 10th of February, they've kind of had a steady enough decline. So they went from $18.90 all the way down to $12.20. So they're down about $6.70 over the last week or so. With any stock chart, you can always have 2 sides to every story. You can look at one side of the coin and say that once it hit $18.90 and it's after dropping down $6 since then, that the ship may have sailed and that it's declining rapidly for a reason. Or you could also look at it on the other side of the coin and say that because of this fairly steep decline, about 1/3 of the value dropped over the last week or so, that you can say if you're looking as a long-term investor, this might be an ample time to start buying more at a cheaper price. So what we'll do now, most importantly, is look at some news articles and catalysts that have made the reason why this company has dropped about 30% over the last week or so, and if there's any catalysts coming up that might be use of buying in right now. One thing that certainly should fill investors with hope in terms of Aurora Cannabis is that a big fund has bought more shares within it. So we can see in this article that British Columbia has raised its investment within the marijuana stock Aurora Cannabis, and we can see below here that British Columbia has bought an additional 232,058 additional shares in Aurora Cannabis to end 2020 with 290,404 shares. Another very important catalyst and a news article from 2 days ago is that major brokers are very bullish on Aurora Cannabis, and we're going to see within this article that a lot of major analysts are after upping their price targets for this company. Canaccord raised their price target for this company from 11 Canadian dollars to $14, and we can also see that CIBC raised their stake from $17 to $18.50 Canadian dollars. Last week also, Aurora Cannabis announced its fiscal 2021 second quarter results, and there's a kind of few main points here. They can see that total cannabis net revenue of $70.3 million, which is up 11% from quarter 2 of 2020. Then have the likes of medical cannabis net revenue of $38.9 million, is up 42% versus quarter 2. And also, always got to do with cash when it comes to stocks, that improved cash use by more than 74% versus quarter 2 of 2020, and cash in hand at February 10, 2021 was $565 million. It's worth noting that with all cannabis sector stocks, although a lot of them, just like Aurora Cannabis, is not a penny stock anymore, they can be treated nearly in the same style in terms of volatility. So a lot of people, unlike let's say Coca-Cola, where people go in for the long term, a lot of these cannabis sector stocks, people go in to try to make a quick dollar, either by shorting or going long on the stock. But a lot of people tend to don't stick around for too long within these kind of companies. So it's always going to come to fruition as well to see if any of these companies, especially Aurora Cannabis, if it can go up 100% in 2021. So let's have a brief look at this article to see if there's any relevance to this. In terms of the possibilities of this stock going up 100% this year, it's not, strange things definitely have happened, and it's not completely unlikely, because it's also worth noting that if you look at the longer style chart for Aurora Cannabis, over the last 5 years it was over the $110 mark at one stage, so it definitely had a fall from grace in that terms. However, at current prices, it's kind of worth noting as well, because even though it is the leading Canadian cannabis stock, it has a lot of reputation and a lot of brands, so it has a great diversification in my opinion across all different styles of cannabis use. So there is definitely chances, but again, it comes down to not just the company itself, but the overall cannabis stock sector in terms of regulations as well. So they'll have a big part to play if this stock can go up over the 100% in 2021. There you have it, guys. That was my 2 cents on Aurora Cannabis. We had a brief overview and look at what the company actually does, and we had a brief look through the product offering. We then had a look at some interesting news articles to see if there's any catalysts going forward, both positive or negative, that will affect the share price. And finally, we also had a look at their current share price, and we had a look to see how it was performing over the last few months. If you found this video anyway interesting or entertaining, it'd be much appreciated as always if you consider subscribing to the channel if you're new around here. And always, it was much appreciated if you could drop a like on the video. And finally, if you have any questions, comments, queries or suggestions, please don't hesitate to comment below, and I'll be sure to get back to you as quick as I can. Thanks very much, guys, have a good evening, and I will see y'all in tomorrow's video.